welcome. I'm Kat. My job today is simple. I'm going to offer you the tools you need to not only protect you and your company from a lawsuit, but to help you, your colleagues, your employees, even your supervisors create and maintain a healthy and respectful work environment. It may seem like common sense, but if it were that easy, you wouldn't be watching me right now. So I'm going to get right to the point. Whether you're a supervisor, manager, an employee, or even an intern, it's not just about being nice. Discrimination in the workplace is illegal and can cause serious problems for everyone. It can lead to loss of job, lawsuit against company, lawsuit against you, fines and money damages, even possible criminal charges. And if you're on the receiving end of harassment or discrimination, you might be entitled to back pay, reinstatement, even damages. And in this digital age, if a charge of harassment or discrimination against you is proven to be true, it might never go away. It can hurt your chances of getting another job elsewhere. It can hurt the company's reputation, their bottom line. Well, I don't need to tell you. You've seen what happens. And we're not just talking about the Times or the news. We're talking about Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, BuzzFeed, the Daily Beast. The list goes on and on. Keep in mind that what is said there, whether in a tweet, blog, comment, direct message, or even a casual response to an email thread, is likely permanent. Here is an excellent test to determine what is or isn't professional behavior. I call it the mother-daughter test. Basically, would I say or do this in front of my mother or daughter? Of course, you might also want to say to yourself, would you want someone to say or do this to or in front of your child, spouse, or parent? Man or woman, doesn't matter. If the answer is no, well, then there's your answer. Oh, and then there's this. Would you want this behavior described in the press? If you don't want it to be reported here, just do the right thing here. So, what is my goal? I'm here to help you understand a few basic things. The difference between acceptable behavior and unacceptable behavior, between illegal behavior and company policy, and how to report unacceptable behavior. First, we need to know what is discrimination. Discrimination is the prejudicial treatment of a person or a group of people because of a particular protected trait or belonging to a protected class. Let me repeat that. Discrimination is the prejudicial treatment of a person or a group of people because of a particular protected trait or belonging to a protected class. What is a protected trait? That's a good question. Protected traits or classes vary from state to state, even city to city. Here are a few examples: race, religion, color, age, national origin, sexual orientation, gender identity, ableness, disability, pregnancy, even marital or partnership status. Read your company's policy if you're unsure. You can also Google it and look up protected traits for your city or state. The point is, it's illegal. Harassment, retaliation, it's illegal to treat anybody differently simply because of a protected trait or class. This includes hiring or firing and promotion, discipline, compensation, and work assignments. Basically, any terms or conditions of your employment. Not everything is a protected trait. Say you like heavy metal music or ketchup on your hot dogs. Maybe you always bring a peanut butter and jelly sandwich to work. Maybe you cut the crust off of the peanut butter and jelly sandwich that you bring to work every day. These are not protected traits. And not every kind of unpleasant behavior is illegal. A manager's style may create a stressful environment.
Where the hell's my coffee?
But if it isn't aimed at a protected class, it's just bad behavior. But I'll say it again. Act professionally at all times, expect the same of others, and you won't have to worry about what may or may not be a protected class. The next few videos will break it down for you. I'll see you in a few. Hello, welcome back. So we all understand that discrimination in the workplace is not only not okay, but it's illegal. And now you know some of the definitions, some of the issues that may come up, who and what is protected, and what you can do to stop the problem before it starts. I want to remind you all that sexual harassment happens across all industries, and can be perpetuated not only by managers or supervisors, but by coworkers and even third parties like a customer or even a visitor. It may seem like common sense, but it isn't always the case that everyone sees or interprets everything the same way. If they did, we wouldn't be here. So we are going to take a little more time and address some of the specific ways discrimination might show up. Let's start with the big one. Let's talk about sex. That got your attention. What I mean by that is, of course, sexual discrimination, which includes sexual harassment. It's important to remember that a stressful work environment, while unpleasant, is not necessarily illegal. And you need to know the difference. But no matter one's sexual orientation, gender identity, or even if they are transgender, from offhand comments to more blatant behavior, sexual harassment can happen in any industry, and it's illegal. The law protects employees, paid and unpaid interns, and even non-employees who work in the workplace, like independent contractors or vendors. The federal law defines it like this: unwelcome sexual advances, requests for sexual favors, and other verbal or physical conduct of a sexual nature constitutes sexual harassment when this conduct explicitly or implicitly affects an individual's employment, unreasonably interferes with an individual's work performance, or creates an intimidating, hostile, or offensive work environment. Depending on what state or even what city you work in, there may be some subtle differences, but you get the point. In the workplace, there is acceptable behavior and unacceptable behavior. And within the universe of unacceptable behavior, there are differences. Some are against the law, while some, though maybe not against the law, may be against company policy. But in either case, if proved true, there will be some form of disciplinary action. There are two types of sexual harassment: the hostile work environment and quid pro quo. Let's look at the hostile work environment first. But before I continue, I've asked someone to join me. Hi, Jim.
Hey, Kat.
Have you been watching?
No, not really.
Jim is a manager at a mid-sized business and is going to help me out with this, right, Jim?
Right, beautiful? What?
So that's already a problem, isn't it?
In what way? I mean, you are beautiful.
Well, you may think you're being nice, but it's not appropriate, Jim, not even a little.
Really?
Yes.
Pat, look, I'm sorry, babe.
Oh, okay. Whoa, Jim, that's not appropriate either.
Okay, I was just being nice. I mean, we've known each other a long time, and it's just...
Look, calling me names like sexy or babe, it's crossing a line, Jim, just like touching me or even coming into my personal space. There are boundaries that you have to respect.
I respect you. I mean, I respect you after, too, honey, but...
Really, Jim?
What now?
Okay, so I'll lay it out for you so you can understand. Here is what you cannot do with, to, in front of, or even near a coworker or an employee. No demeaning names.
Like babe, honey, hottie, sweetheart, beautiful, handsome, sexy.
No unwanted touching.
Like hugs, back rubs, kissing, hand-holding.
No sexually explicit jokes.
I can't tell them?
Right.
Can I text them?
No.
How about email?
No.
Wow. Okay.
No describing sexual thoughts, fantasies, or dreams.
Yeah, I'll keep them to myself.
No displaying pornography, no leering, catcalling, gesturing, no unwelcome flirting.
So, you don't want me to ask you out?
No.
Okay. How about now?
No. You have to stop exactly that kind of behavior.
I know. I was just kidding. I know you're not interested in me, although I really don't know why.
Oh, to be honest, even consensual workplace relationships can cause problems. Say Jim and I both really liked each other.
We do.
I meant romantically.
Right. I mean, but hypothetically, it could happen.
And often it does. So let's say the two of us were romantically involved and like to talk about the intimacies of our relationship in front of our colleagues. Would that be okay?
Well, I mean...
No.
No.
What if we kissed?
Right. Not okay.
Right. Not okay.
I guess it might make Bob in accounting uncomfortable.
Precisely. Bob would hate that.
I bet it would. It'd be even worse if we broke up.
You are so right.
Yeah, because you might get really jealous, start behaving badly, start stalking me, or, I don't know, saying things at work.
And that would be...
Bad.
Right. Then there is sex stereotyping.
What does that mean?
Well, just because someone doesn't fit your idea of what they should look like or talk like, how they dress, or even behave.
Like a girl wearing pants?
Girl,
A woman?
what if she was wearing a hard hat?
You mean like a construction worker?
Yeah, just because they're doing a job that is usually performed by someone of the opposite sex, that's called stereotyping.
And stereotyping is a form of harassment.
You are getting this. But there's another type of sexual discrimination that comes up a lot, and that can be a huge problem. It's called quid pro quo.
Ah, quid pro quo. That's Latin for something for something. Sort of like, if you do this, then I'll do that. You scratch my back, I'll scratch yours.
Yep, that's it. And how do you think this shows up in the workplace?
Well, I guess it would be like if I say to you, if you kiss me, I'll give you a promotion, a raise.
You're right on target.
And if you don't, I won't.
Right. It's the kind of thing that can happen when someone is in a position of power.
Like me.
Like you, Jim. If a supervisor says, have dinner with me, kiss me, take your shirt off, have sex with me.
Dress a certain way, I'll give you a promotion, a raise, or a good territory, or better tables.
Or even a job.
Whoa, wait a minute. This happens on a job interview?
It does.
Wow, that's gross.
Yeah, it is. And it happens. As I said earlier, would you want someone to say or do this in front of your child, your wife, or your folks?
No.
Would you want this behavior described in the press?
No. Wait, I didn't do anything.
No, I know you didn't.
I mean, what would happen if, I did do something inappropriate?
That would depend on the circumstances.
So not everyone who behaves badly gets fired?
Not necessarily. They may have to go through counseling or training. They may get suspended, lose a bonus, or even forfeit a position. It really depends on a lot of things. But if you are on the receiving end of inappropriate behavior, whether or not it falls in the category of hostile work environment or quid pro quo, even if it's not illegal, you have to report it. Because if no one knows about it,
Then no one could do anything about it. But what if you're scared to report it?
oh, you mean because of retaliation?
Yeah, that.
Excellent question. Retaliation is also illegal. And if you've made a good faith complaint of discrimination or harassment,
Or even retaliation.
yes, retaliation too. If you made a complaint against a coworker or supervisor and you are suddenly out of a job, given a new, less favorable assignment, passed over for a promotion, basically anything that changes the terms of your employment for the worse, or would even stop you from making the complaint in the first place, these all might qualify as retaliation, and depending on the facts, are illegal. And a little side note, while often it's behavior of men directed towards women, sometimes it's the other way around. Men can be the victims of sexual harassment, and it can be due to the behavior of other men or women. Simply put, the harasser might be a man or it might be a woman.
And you're saying that the victim could be a woman or a man too.
Yes, and it might not even be motivated by sexual desire.
I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing.
It's neither good nor bad, it just is. No one group has a monopoly on discrimination, and no one group has a monopoly on being discriminated against. But in our society, clearly there are those singled out more often than others. We're going to cover that in a moment. First, want to do a quick review with me?
Sure.
Okay. A stressful work environment is not the same
It's
as...
a hostile work environment.
Right, and a hostile work environment suggests...
Unwelcome behavior aimed at someone specifically based on a protected trait that unreasonably and negatively interferes with your job performance.
Good. Discrimination, harassment, and retaliation are not appropriate anywhere in the workplace.
Wait,
or...
wait. Hang on a second.
Go
This is really
ahead.
important. The workplace isn't just the workplace, is it? I mean, company vehicles, or a vehicle headed to a customer or business-related event, or a customer's location, or even an elevator.
That's exactly right. Even company social functions like holiday parties or retirement dinners, even if not in the office, especially when there's booze involved, can really get tricky. And please, realize that you need to be appropriate even when you're having a casual conversation at the water cooler.
Because if a coworker, employee, or supervisor, or even a visitor walks by and they're offended, that's a problem.
Even social media and emails, the same rules apply. There's something else I want to talk about, Jim, and it really involves you.
I'm all ears.
Remember when you suggested that someone might be scared to report an incident?
Yep.
Well, what happens when someone else sees it happen?
Oh, wow. Never even thought about that.
Well, think about it now for a minute.
Well, I think it would be really important for that person to do something. I mean, if we could recognize it, we can do something about it.
Yep. Someone who sees it, a coworker or supervisor who takes action, who intervenes as soon as they see it happen, reports what happened, they can play an important role in stopping that behavior, protecting their colleagues, and improving the work environment.
And isn't it true that if a supervisor witnesses something, even if the employee doesn't complain or report it, he can...
Or she.
Or she has to...
Report it. Correct. Actually, a supervisor will be disciplined for failing to report sexual harassment or knowingly allowing it to continue, even if the employee doesn't complain.
Wow. You know, if you're a supervisor, you got a lot of responsibility.
You sure do.
Yeah.
And of course, you have to follow the rules yourself. Complaints about supervisors are no different than complaints about anybody else and will be handled in exactly the same way.
I can tell you, the first thing I'm going to do when I get back is to make sure that we have a written policy, and then I'll make sure everyone sees it. I'm going to email it, print it, and put it up, and make sure that anyone applying for a job sees it.
Make sure to include who they should speak to and what they should do.
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
Okay, well done, Jim.
Thanks, Kat.
There is a way to handle all these situations, a protocol. It's all covered in the sexual harassment policy. If you don't have it or want another copy, you could ask someone from HR or a manager. Once you make a formal complaint, it will be investigated. And these complaints need to be made in good faith. You can't just say something to get back at someone by accusing them. Bear in mind that any knowingly false statements or reports aren't protected.
So don't lie. But no one has to know, right?
Oh, good point. Because we have to investigate, there is only limited confidentiality.
Meaning?
Meaning that we won't tell everyone, obviously, but we will be speaking to some people. If someone saw it.
Or if you told someone else and didn't report it.
Yep. I know I've said this before, but it's really important. You should always feel comfortable reporting an incident, even if you aren't sure that it's harassment or discrimination. I mean, you can even go to HR if the person sitting next to you chews gum too loudly and plays death metal music. Just realize in that case, it's just annoying.
Really annoying.
Really annoying, but not discrimination. If you want to go to HR with a complaint, it will be taken seriously. There is an obligation to follow up and investigate.
You can't go to HR and say, my boss tried to kiss me, but I don't want to do anything about it.
Right. If you just want to vent...
You should vent to a family member or a friend.
Outside of work. Well, that wraps it up. Remember, if you have any questions, ask HR. On behalf of Jim and myself and all of us here, thanks for your time.
Glad I can help.
Yep. I'm still here. And so is...
Me, right here. Jim, sorry about that. You have no idea. First, it's the bathroom.
It's okay.
It's for everyone now. There's a woman in there. She was taken forever.
Jim.
And then I go down to get lunch. There's some kind of festival going on. One of these holidays. It's always something. Ramadan or Rosh Hashanah, some moon festival. Next thing you know, it'll be like Christmas every day.
I'm so glad you're bringing this up.
It's crazy. I mean, and next thing you know, there's going to be an official holiday for calculators.
Jim.
I'm doing it again, aren't I?
Jim has just raised our next topic for discussion.
I did?
Yeah.
I did.
Though perhaps not intentionally.
No, I meant to. It was completely... continue.
We've already covered sexual discrimination and harassment, and we told you how to report it. But, as we said early on, though it is particularly troubling, discrimination and harassment don't just occur around sex. There are a number of instances of bias that lead to discrimination. We can often find ourselves treating other people differently because of the assumptions we make about them based on these sorts of things before we actually know anything. As I said in the introduction, like gender discrimination, discrimination based on race, religion, age, national origin, gender identity, disability, pregnancy, marital or partnership status, discrimination, including harassment against any protected trait, is illegal. And if you have any complaint against anyone of any other instance of bias or discrimination, you should follow the same protocols as you would for sexual harassment.
Wait. I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, I understand you can't discriminate against any.
Protected trait.
Right. But didn't we discuss this already? Gender? Isn't gender sex?
Not always. And it's an important distinction. Some gender discrimination is not so much sexual. For instance, say you manage a business.
I do.
And say you had an assignment for a particular male client, and the most qualified person for the assignment was a woman.
I'm with you.
Would it be okay for you to give that work to a guy because the client is a dude and would think that a woman was not up for the job?
Well,
The answer is no.
no.
Let's turn that around. Same client. This time, your male employee is better qualified.
Problem solved.
Not so fast. Would it be okay for you to give that assignment to a lesser qualified female because you wanted clients to enjoy the company of a pretty lady?
So you're telling me that the gender bias sort of cuts both ways.
Indeed, it does. Now, there are some cases where the job has a bona fide occupational requirement, like a locker room attendant at a gym, perhaps. But ability for the job has always got to be the priority.
I completely agree, but
Yes, Jim, do you have a question?
what about those people who,
What?
like when you can't tell, and the women dress like men and the men dress like women?
You mean gender identity?
Yes, that.
What a useful transition. These days, there are many people for whom gender identity is fluid. This isn't just about members of the gay and lesbian community. Those who are openly transgender often face discrimination in the workplace, especially in more traditional work environments. Bottom line, you have to treat everyone the same. It is not okay to make demeaning comments about another's behavior, clothing, speech, or anything else specific to how they identify vis-a-vis gender.
Would you say that's kind of the same for, well, everything else too?
How do you mean?
Well, I'm just saying, that way of thinking would work around a lot of different kinds of bias.
Go on.
Let's look at age. If I want a PowerPoint presentation for a sales pitch, I can't say to an older employee, perhaps you should let the younger folks do this. I know they didn't have computers back in the day. Or the client is young and going to think that you're too old and stuck in your ways. Like the gender thing. I can't be making comments like, we need some young blood around here.
Exactly. Though to be clear, if a company has to cut back staff as part of a cost-cutting measure, you can still be laid off or fired. You might be the oldest or the only man. You might be the lowest performing employee or being paid more than the employer can afford. As long as it's not because of a protected trait.
It's not illegal.
What else?
Well, there's race or, what's the word? National origin. For instance, if one of my employees is from India, they might wear clothing that is different and eat food that I don't even know what it is. And that's got to be cool, right? Heck, I might even learn something. Or religion. If someone wears a yarmulke or a turban, that's not something that anyone can make fun of, and it can't get in the way of them being hired, promoted, or advanced.
What about women who are pregnant?
What do you mean?
Pregnancy and pregnancy-related medical conditions are protected.
They are?
What would you do if you had a pregnant woman working for you?
I'd offer her a seat.
That would be nice. What would you do if she needs to go to a doctor's appointment or she needs to use the bathroom a little more often than most?
Well, she's pregnant. I mean, that's just what happens, right? But, maybe she shouldn't be working until after she has the baby. I mean, if she's in a warehouse, that could hurt the baby.
Nope.
Well, what do you mean?
Well, it may seem like that's the right thing to do, but telling even an 8-month pregnant woman that she can't work is illegal.
Wow.
Well, what about when she's had the baby and she wants to express breast milk?
In the office?
The law requires breaks for nursing mothers, private lactation rooms.
I had no idea.
A woman who is pregnant or has just had a baby may be entitled to an accommodation or a leave of absence. Again, this may vary from state to state, city to city, but she has to
go to HR for that.
Yep. And just so you know, just because a woman is pregnant doesn't mean she can mess up on the job. If she keeps making mistakes at work, she can be disciplined just like anyone else.
Well, that seems fair. I mean, the idea is that we're treating everyone the same, right?
Right. I have another one for you.
Okay.
Have you heard of the Americans with Disabilities Act?
I have.
It's a civil rights law that prohibits discrimination based on disability, and actually now, a lot of people are using the term ableness. As with pregnancy or even religion, all companies have to provide reasonable accommodations. As long as it doesn't cause the company an undue hardship, if you need an accommodation...
I know. They should go to HR.
Some state or city laws may provide for other accommodations, but HR will know.
What if someone has a cold?
They can call in sick if they are sick, but that's not a disability.
Oh, what if they decide they suddenly belong to a religion that doesn't believe in making phone calls after 2 p.m.?
Has that happened?
No, but you know.
All right. For disability accommodation, your company may need to involve your healthcare provider. And for a religious accommodation, it must be bona fide. You can't just find religion the day before a long weekend. The company only has to make it possible for an employee to perform the essential functions of the job. It doesn't have to be exactly what the employee wants.
So, I don't need to build a gold ramp when a steel one will do fine.
Look at you. You do understand. Not bad for a middle-aged, God-fearing Anglo-Saxon white dude.
Hey, that's age, race, gender, cultural, and religious bias.
Exactly. And I'm sorry.
And I'm half Italian and half Irish.
Me too. Kidding. I was just driving home a point. So, what's the bottom line, Jen?
Discrimination and harassment in the workplace shouldn't happen. If it does, it can't be tolerated. Not only is it inappropriate and unkind, it's illegal. So no matter what someone's race, religion, color, age, where they're from, if they have a disability or what their gender or their gender identity is or their sexual orientation, treat everyone with respect. Give everyone a chance and make sure they know that their safety and well-being is a company priority.
Nice.
Thanks.
That concludes our program.
Unless, like me, you're a manager or supervisor. Then we just have one more for you.
If you have any questions, make sure you ask your supervisor.
Or HR.
Or HR. Thanks for joining us. Coffee?
Nah, I'm gonna switch to tea.
Oh, okay. Well, that was really good. I think you're getting the hang of
Oh,
this.
thank you. You know, this is the start of a beautiful friendship.
Are you quoting movie lens at
Of
me?
all the sensitivity training websites out there,
are we
you
still
come
rolling?
strolling into my office. Of course they're still rolling. I'm still on the
Stop
clock.
talking. Well, yeah.